Most people are totally blind to the fact that used car lots are hiding absolute gems right now. While everyone else is stressing over a $1,000 monthly payment, smart buyers are finding cars that simply refuse to die. Today, I am breaking down 7 legendary workhorses that you can buy for under $5,000. These are not rusty projects or beaten-down scrap metal. They are mechanic-approved legends built with old-school reliability. We are talking about native power plants and heavy-duty transmissions that will easily outlive the over-engineered plastic trucks sitting in showrooms today. Veteran mechanics are quietly scooping these up because they know these specific years are virtually indestructible. If you want a proven rig that handles the dirt, the snow, and the daily grind without breaking your bank account, you are in the right place. Every single truck on this list is a budget-friendly powerhouse, ready to make your neighbor regret his massive loan. Number 7. Toyota Yaris. Want a cheaper commuter that stays reliable with boring upkeep? Yaris is the quiet winner. Toyota Yaris is cheaper because it is small, plain, and honestly a little boring, so shoppers skip it for a Corolla or Civic and pay extra. Insurance tends to stay lower because power is modest, replacement value is low, and it does not scream speed, which keeps claim risk calmer for many carriers. Repairs stay cheaper because the layout is simple, the engine bay is open, and wear parts are everywhere, so we are not waiting on rare modules or fancy lamps. Key difference is simple weight. A light car with a basic 4-cylinder and a few gadgets that age into annoying repairs over time anyway. In the shop, that means fewer surprises, mostly tires, brakes, and starter or alternator, nothing that feels brutal or costly. Our target window is the mid-run Yaris years you actually see in every state, roughly 2007 through 2012, because those cars are common, the parts bins are deep, and the drivetrain is proven. Most use a 1.5-liter 4-cylinder with a 5-speed manual or a 4-speed automatic, a simple combo that stays smooth when fluid is fresh. On insurance, this car looks low risk, low power, low theft appeal, and that usually keeps premiums calmer. In our bay, we see workers run them past 200,000 miles still starting reliable. The engine is a simple port fuel setup. No turbo heat, no direct engine carbon drama, always. Years to avoid are not about a single calendar year, they are about abuse, so we get picky with any Yaris that shows overheating history, oil burning, or a seller who shrugs at maintenance because neglect turns cheaper into costly. Used price is usually $3,000 to $4,800 for a clean value example with records. New price when new was often $12,000 to $16,000, so the depreciation is the value win. Compare it to a Corolla deal, buyers overpay there, while Yaris sits because nobody brags about a cheaper tool. One common failure we watch is front suspension wear on higher mile cars, things like sway bar links or strut mounts, because clunks on rough roads are your negotiation lever. Our inspection is quick and practical. Do a cold start. Listen for a steady idle, because a rough shake can signal damage. Look for cooling leaks around the valve cover and hoses, because seepage is a warning. Drive it slow, then highway speed, and feel for straight tracking and stable steering. Because tires and alignment hide damage. Do one firm braking test and make sure there is no vibration, because warped rotors add costly math. Finally, check tires across the tread, because uneven edges tell the truth about alignment and suspension. This simple money saver, the next car is bigger, softer, and it is cheap because people call it a grandpa ride, which is exactly why it can be a steal. Number 6. Buick LeSabre. Here's the plush grandpa sedan that keeps repairs cheaper and miles steady. LeSabre is cheaper because it screams grandpa, and that stigma is your secret advantage, because supply is huge, and brag factor is 0. Insurance tends to stay lower because it is an older full-size sedan with low theft appeal and low value, so the risk profile feels calmer for most buyers. Repairs stay cheaper because every shop has seen the 3.8 V6 for years, parts are plentiful, and used parts are easy to find when you need a window motor or a mirror. The key difference is comfort without complexity, big seats, simple buttons, and a proven V6 reputation that does not demand fancy fuel or fancy tools. We like it because it drives softer, it feels stable on the highway, and it does not punish you with touchscreen drama. We target later clean examples with records, mainly 2003 through 2005, because the bugs feel sorted and the car usually lived an easier life. We get picky in rust states, and we avoid any LeSabre with rot at the rocker area, crusty rear subframe points, or sloppy electrical neglect. because rust is damage, and electrical hacks become annoying. The classic setup stays predictable for long ownership, a naturally aspirated 3.8 with a 4-speed automatic, and that means the owner is buying boring miles, not turbo drama. Used price under $5,000 is real. Most clean drivers land around $1,800 to $4,500, depending on miles and rust. New price when new was about $26,725, so the depreciation is the value play. Compare it to the same money Camry or Accord. Those often have more miles and tighter cabins, while this Buick gives more space for cheaper cash. In many towns, this is less money than a used compact with a loud cabin, and that is why the value feels unfair. Keep it stock, keep coolant fresh, and it will run longer than most people expect. One common failure we call out is intake or cooling seepage. You may see coolant smell or wet stains near the intake area, and ignoring it can turn into overheat pain. Check coolant condition and level. Then verify the fan cycle and the temp stays stable on a long idle. Listen at idle for a smooth, steady rhythm, because a rough miss hints at neglected plugs or coils. Turn the wheel lock to lock and feel the power steering effort, because groans or heavy spots mean wear that becomes costly. Drive it over rough pavement and listen for suspension clunks, because worn links are common and they affect tire wear. Finally, look underneath at rust points and brake lines, because safe stopping matters more than shiny paint. Who should buy it? Anyone who wants plush commuting, big space, and cheaper fixes without caring about image. Who should skip it? Rust belt buyers who cannot inspect underbody hard. If you want a cheap daily that feels comfortable, the next car is ignored because it is just a Ford. But parts are everywhere, and that matters. If this garage guide saves you money, subscribe. We share cheaper cars, reliable years, and simple checks that cut costly surprises and keep budgets safe. Number 5. Ford Fusion. Tired of badge tax? Fusion gives stable highway comfort with common parts and low-drama ownership. Fusion ends up under $5,000 because fleets ran them. Styling is average, and supply is large, so prices soften even when the car is solid. Insurance tends to stay lower because it is a mainstream mid-size sedan, not a performance name, and replacement cost is reasonable, so it usually avoids the high-risk buckets. Repairs stay cheaper because parts availability is massive, every shop knows the platform, and junkyard supply is strong, so you are not waiting weeks for a rare sensor. The key difference is highway comfort and simple daily use when you pick the right powertrain, because a calm commuter is cheaper to keep than a sport problem. We like the quiet cruise, the roomy seats, and the way it feels stable at speed without being floaty. We target the safest early years with the simplest setup, mainly 2009 through 2012 with the 2.54 cylinder and the 6-speed automatic, because that combo is common and service is predictable. We stay picky on any year with steering complaints or hard shift history, because those problems feel small until they become costly. We also walk from overheated cars, because heat creates damage that shows up later as leaks and rough running. When new Fusion stickers were roughly $18,135 to $25,190, depending on trim. So it was never exotic, and that helps parts pricing today. Used price under $5,000 usually means higher miles or cosmetic flaws, but clean private owner drivers still land around $2,500 to $5,000 in many areas. Price comparison is where the value pops, because the same year Accord or Camry often costs more, even when the miles are similar, and that badge tax does nothing for your wallet. One common failure we watch is power steering trouble in some years, plus front suspension wear that shows up as clunks and uneven tire wear, so you inspect steering feel before you fall in love. Check by starting with a cold start and turning the wheel at idle. You want smooth assist, not a dead spot or heavy feel. Drive slow over a parking lot seam and listen for rack noise or front clunks, because that is your negotiation lever. If the steering feels heavy in one direction or the wheel does not return smoothly, assume front-end wear and price it like a repair, not a promise. Get it fully warm and check transmission shift quality. You want clean changes, no flare, and no slam, because harsh shifting is a warning sign. Do a steady highway run and confirm the wheel stays straight with no shake, because vibration means tires, alignment, or worn parts. Look for leaks around the valve cover and at the coolant bottle, because small seepage becomes costly if ignored. Check tires for inner edge wear, because alignment issues eat rubber quickly. One more quick check: Run the HVAC from cold to hot and confirm the blend doors respond, because stuck airflow becomes annoying fast. Also, look at the battery and alternator output on the dashboard if you can, because low voltage creates weird warnings. If you like this cheap and common play, the next car is a compact people buy new, then dump cheap used, and that is where we win for less money. Number 4. Hyundai Elantra. Need a simple daily car that stays cheaper to fix and easy to insure? Elantra is the practical play. Elantra sits under $5,000 because the badge is cheap, the shape is plain, and buyers chase Corolla pride. So this one gets skipped even when it runs reliable. Insurance tends to stay lower because it is a low-value compact, not a sporty model, and claims are smaller, so premiums feel calmer for many drivers. Repairs stay cheaper because the basics are common: brakes, tires, sensors, belts, and every corner shop has seen them. The key difference is supply. There are tons of these on the road, which keeps parts plentiful and fixes fast. We target the safer pre-theft wave years and the more stable run, mainly 2011 through 2016, with clean records, because those listings are common and the ownership story is easier to read. We get picky on any example that shows neglect, oil starvation clues, or a seller who cannot explain service, because a cheap car with a bad story becomes painful. Drivetrain-wise, we keep it simple, a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder with a conventional automatic, and we avoid hacked hot trims that add stress. The used price for a solid Elantra driver is usually $2,500 to $5,000, depending on miles, title, and condition. New price, when new, is often around $16,000 to $22,000, so the depreciation is the value gap. Compare it to a similar year Corolla money, and the Corolla often costs more just for the name, while this Hyundai can do the same daily job for cheaper cash. In the shop, we see these come in with loud road noise and cheap tires. Then we put on decent rubber, and the car feels calmer, which is a real reminder that tires matter more than badges. One common failure we watch is front suspension links and bushings that start clunking on rough roads, and sometimes a charging issue that shows up as a weak alternator. Start with a cold start and listen for a smooth idle, because a rough shake can mean a misfire that becomes costly. Pop the hood and listen for belt noise, because that points to tensioner wear, and that is an easy negotiation. Check charging voltage with a simple meter, because weak charging creates random warnings that feel annoying. Drive it over a rough patch and listen for front clunks, because loose links make the car feel cheap even when the engine is fine. On the road, confirm the steering stays stable and the car tracks straight, because alignment and tired tires will eat your budget quickly. Look at the tires across the tread, because inner edge wear is the truth. Check the oil level and smell, because burnt oil is a warning of poor care. If the seller says needs nothing, ask for receipts, because paper is proof and talk is just talk. If it passes these checks, it is the boring commuter that keeps going with routine service and keeps insurance and repairs in the safe zone. Next up is the opposite, a big rear-wheel drive sedan that looks old-fashioned, and that is exactly why insurance and repairs stay calmer. If this guide helps you buy smarter, subscribe. We share cheaper cars, reliable years, and simple checks that stop costly regrets and keep budgets safe. Number 3. Mercury Grand Marquis. Ready for a bigger sedan that feels plush and stays simple to keep alive? This one just runs. Grand Marquis is under $5,000 because it looks like an old man car, and modern buyers hate big sedans, so these sight even when the hardware is proven and the ride is plush. Insurance often stays lower because theft appeal is low, the value is low, and the profile is boring, so it is not a high-risk target. Repairs stay cheaper because the parts supply is massive, the layout is simple, and every shop knows the platform, so labor time is shorter and used parts are everywhere. The key difference is rear-wheel drive simplicity with a basic V8 and a traditional automatic, which means it can take steady miles without the drama of small turbo motors and complex gearboxes. It is also a comfort car with wide seats, a soft ride, and a highway feel that stays stable. We target later clean years with better aging and fewer surprises, mainly 2006 through 2011, because those cars tend to have nicer interiors and calmer behavior. We get picky in rust states because frame rust is damage you cannot polish away, and we avoid any car with scaling at the frame rails, rear control arm mounts, or brake lines. Used price is usually $2,000 to $5,000 for a clean driver, depending on miles and rust, and you can still find grandpa-owned examples with records if you hunt. New Mercury. Grand Marquises are not available for purchase, as production of the vehicle and the Mercury brand ended in January 2011. New price when new was often around $25,000 to $32,000. So today you are buying a lot of car for little money. Price comparison is funny, because a worn compact can cost the same, yet this gives more space, more comfort, and often cheaper repairs because the parts are so common. One common failure we watch is the intake manifold coolant leak on certain years, plus front suspension wear that shows up as a loose steering feel. Start with the intake area. Look for coolant smell and wet stains, because coolant loss leads to overheat, and that becomes costly. Check the coolant reservoir level and color, because brown coolant is a neglect flag. On the test drive, feel steering play, because a sloppy wheel can mean worn tie rods, and that turns into tires and alignment bills. Do a firm brake test and make sure it stops straight, because pulling can mean calipers, and that is safety. Listen for front-end clunks over bumps, because worn bushings eat tires. Then inspect rust at frame points and crossmembers, because structure is the whole game. Also, look at the rear axle seal area for wetness, because leaks are common and easy to spot before they become damage. Check the transmission shift feel after it is warm, because it should be smooth, not flaring. If it drives straight, shows clean coolant, and has a solid frame, this is one of the easiest under $5,000 cars to keep alive, and it feels like a big comfortable couch that keeps rolling. One more smart check, run the HVAC on max cold, then max heat, because weak airflow is annoying in winter, and test windows and locks, because cheap electrical fixes still cost time and money today for any buyer on a budget. Next is the car people assume is expensive to insure because it is a Toyota, but older ones still fall under $5,000 when miles are high. Number 2, Toyota Corolla. Think boring is bad? Corolla is boring and reliable, and that is exactly why it saves money. Corolla ends up under $5,000 because the good ones get driven. So what you see in listings is high miles, older body styles, and plain interiors that do not feel special, and that is exactly why they can be a smart buy. Insurance tends to stay lower because the profile is safe, slow, and predictable, and the power is modest, so claim risk stays calmer for most owners. Repairs stay cheaper because parts are endless, service is easy, and every mechanic has seen this car 1,000 times, so we are not learning on your dime. The key difference is low drama ownership when it is not neglected, a simple daily tool that just starts and goes. We target the sweet spot years that avoid the worst quirks. And for under $5,000, the common hunting ground is 2003 through 2008, because those cars are everywhere and the parts supply is massive. We get picky on oil burning examples and any car with overheating history, because those two stories turn a cheaper deal into costly regret. Drivetrain-wise, we keep it simple. A naturally aspirated 4-cylinder with a conventional automatic, and we avoid neglected examples that were run low on oil, because that creates damage you cannot talk away. Used price is usually $2,500 to $5,000, depending on miles, rust, and records. Original MSRP, when new, was often around $14,000 to $18,000, depending on trim. So you are buying a lot of reliable transportation for small cash. Price comparison is where buyers get emotional, because people still overpay for Civic, and sometimes they pay $2,000 or $3,000 more just to feel safe, while a high-mile Corolla can be the smarter tool if it has proof of care. One common failure we mention is oil consumption on neglected engines, plus front suspension wear that shows up as clunks and uneven tire wear, so you inspect with your eyes and ears, not hope. Checklist. Start with the oil level and smell, because burnt oil is a warning and low oil is damage. Check coolant condition and level, because brown coolant or low coolant hints at neglect, and heat kills engines. Drive it slow and feel the shift quality, because a healthy automatic should feel smooth and predictable, not slamming or slipping. Then take it on a straight road and confirm tracking is straight, because alignment problems eat tires, and tires are money. Look at the tread edges, because feathering is the truth, and it means you will pay soon. Listen over bumps for front-end clunks, because links and struts are common wear, and you can use that as negotiation. Check for rust at rocker seams and rear suspension points if you are in salt states, because rust is critical and it spreads. If it passes those checks, Corolla is the boring win. Cheap to insure, cheap to fix, and easy to keep alive for years. And here's the tease. Number 1 is the car people laugh at because of the badge, but it is basically a Toyota underneath, and the price gap is the secret. If this guide saves you money, subscribe today. We share cheaper buys, reliable years, and simple checks that cut costly surprises and keep budgets safe. Number 1, Pontiac Vibe. Bet You did not know this hatch is basically Toyota hardware for cheaper cash, and it keeps going for years. Vibe is under $5,000 because the Pontiac badge scares people, the brand is gone, and buyers assume parts will be hard, even though the mechanical bones are the same kind of simple Toyota-based stuff that shops already know. Insurance tends to stay lower because it is a practical hatch, not a hot model. It is older, and it is not a big theft magnet in most areas, so premiums often feel calmer. Repairs stay cheaper because so many basics are shared with Toyota-style parts, and that means brakes, sensors, and common service items are easy to find, and the labor is straightforward. The key difference is wagon practicality with Toyota-style durability. Without Toyota pricing, so you get space, a useful hatch, and a drivetrain that can go long miles without drama. This is the buyer guide twist. People pay extra for the Matrix or Corolla name, but Vibe often sits for cheaper money, even when it is the same kind of daily tool. We target the clean earlier run with the simpler engine choice, and for most buyers, that means 2003 through 2008, because those years tend to be easy to service and easy to source parts for. We get picky on later engine option years tied to oil-burning reputation, and we stay away from any rebuilt tidal flood cars, because water damage turns into electrical pain that is expensive. Drivetrain-wise, we keep it boring, a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder with a conventional automatic, because that combo is predictable and cheap to maintain. The used price is usually $2,500 to $5,000 for clean drivers, depending on miles, rust, and how many owners treated it like a work mule. The original new MSRP was often around $16,000 to $20,000, depending on trim and options. So again, you are buying real utility for small cash. Price comparison is the whole story. Matrix and Corolla money versus Vibe money can show a gap that pays for tires, brakes, and a full fluid refresh while you still stay under budget. One common failure we mention is intake gasket seepage in some years, plus wheel bearing hum at speed and sometimes an odometer cluster quirk, so you know where to listen and what to check. Check by starts with a cold start. Listen for a clean idle, because rough starts mean neglect. Check oil level and look for a fresh oil change sticker, or records, because oil habits decide longer life. On the test drive, listen for wheel bearing noise, a low growl that changes with speed, because bearings are common and you want to price it in. Check the rear hatch seals and the spare tire well for moisture, because hatch leaks are annoying and they create mold and rust. Look under the car for rust on rocker areas and rear suspension mounts, because structure is the real deal breaker on cheap cars. Test the automatic shift feel when warm, because it should stay smooth and consistent, not hunting or flaring. Check tire wear across the tread, because alignment tells the truth, and uneven wear means you pay soon. Also, test the HVAC and blower speeds, because weak blowers are a small repair, but they change daily comfort. If the seller is vague, we treat the deal as riskier, and we move on, because the best $5,000 car is the one with a calm story and boring receipts. This is why Vibe is number one. It gives you Corolla-style ownership without Corolla pricing, and the market still does not realize it. Buyer cheat sheet. Fast and practical, because $5,000 cars only work when we stay smarter and keep the rules simple. Toyota Yaris fits the commuter who wants cheaper driving and low-risk insurance. Target 2007 through 2012. Avoid overheated cars and oil burners with a thin story. Buick LeSabre fits the comfort guy who wants plush space and cheaper repairs. Target 2003 through 2005 with records. Avoid rust belt rot and any cooling neglect that smells sweet. Ford Fusion fits the daily highway driver who wants stable cruising and common parts. Target 2009 through 2012 with the simple 4-cylinder. Avoid hard-shift cars, steering issues, and any overheating history. The Hyundai Elantra fits the basic commuter who wants cheaper buy-in and easy repairs. Target 2011 through 2016 with clean service, avoiding neglected engines and sloppy owners who skip oil. Mercury Grand Marquis fits the big sedan buyer who wants simple rear drive comfort and low-drama repairs. Target 2006 through 2011. Avoid frame rust, bad brake lines, and rough, idle misfire stories. Toyota Corolla fits the guy who wants reliable, boring miles and plentiful parts. Target 2003 through 2008 with receipts. Avoid oil burning and any coolant loss that hints at heat damage. Pontiac Vibe fits the practical buyer who wants hatch space with Toyota-style reliable hardware for cheaper money. Target 2003 through 2008. Avoid later oil burner years and any flood or rebuilt title cars with moisture stink. Older, Lower power, low theft, and low replacement value usually keep premiums lower, so skip sporty trims, loud wheels, and high-claim models that get priced like trouble. Choose common engines, common automatics, and cars every shop knows. Avoid rare trims, hacked wiring, and neglected cooling systems that turn small leaks into big damage. 10-minute test drive routine. Cold start for noises, idle for stable rhythm, warm drive for smooth shifts, 1 brake pulse check, straight road for tracking, tire wear for alignment truth, quick leak scan, and rust check underneath. Negotiation moves are simple. Worn tires, thin brakes, overdue fluids, missing records, warning lights, and rust all equal dollars off today, not promises later. And if the seller pushes back, we walk. Click the video on your screen and we'll break down the best years and the exact inspection steps that stop 5 grand regrets. Subscribe for reliable picks, cheaper ownership, and smarter buying moves.